The January 12, 2022 meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals is now in session. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Arlington Board of Zoning Appeals, which is also known as the BZA. I am Inta Malice, Chair of the Board. The board is made up of 5 citizens appointed by the Circuit Court. In addition to myself, tonight we have members Judy Freshman, Portia Clark, and Lindsay Arthurs. Also present is the professional staff, including Blake Bowen, Board of Zoning Appeals Coordinator, Stephen Rizzi, the Zoning Prim Supervisor, Megan Ryan, the BZA Associate Planner, and Patricia Petrosini, Assistant to the BZA. Thank you for joining us this evening. Before we start, we will explain how the BZA makes its decisions. For the safety of our board members, county staff, applicants, and participating community members, we are meeting in a virtual format this evening, and all participants are joining the meeting remotely. We are legally authorized to hold this virtual meeting based on the governor's executive orders, legislation adopted by the Virginia General Assembly, and the Arlington County Board's Continuity of Operations Ordinance adopted in March of 2020. Before we call our first case, I will share with you some general information about the Board of Zoning Appeals and then some ground rules for how we will conduct our virtual meeting. The board's powers are prescribed in the Code of Virginia and are set out in further detail in the county's zoning ordinance adopted by the county board. The Board of Zoning Appeals does not have the power to rezone property or to amend the regulations set forth in the ordinance. That authority rests with the county board. This board does have the authority to do 3 things. 1, we can approve use permits that allow modifications of placement requirements of structures on 1 and 2 family lots where there is no option in the zoning ordinance to allow such modifications. 2, we can grant variances from the specific requirements of the zoning ordinance. And 3, we can decide appeals of decisions of the zoning administrator. When approving use permits, the Board of Zoning Appeals may impose conditions that it deems necessary in the public interest, including limiting the duration of the use permit. In order to approve a use permit, the law requires that the board find that the proposal meets certain conditions and that the use permit will not adversely affect the health or safety of persons residing in the neighborhood, will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to property or improvements in the neighborhood, and will not be in conflict with the purposes of the master plans and land use and zoning related policies of the county. To do this, the BZA shall consider 1, whether the modification will promote compatibility of development with the surrounding neighborhood, because the structure's overall footprint, size, and placement are similar to structures on property surrounding the lot in question. And 2, whether the modification will help preserve natural landform, historical features, and/or significant trees and foliage. When granting variances, the burden of proof is on the applicant to prove by preponderance of the evidence that the improvements meet the following criteria. Whether the strict application of the ordinance would unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property, or that granting the variance would alleviate a hardship due to a physical condition relating to the property or improvements thereon at the time of the effective date of the ordinance. Whether the granting of the variance would alleviate a hardship by granting a reasonable modification to a property or improvement thereon requested by or on behalf of a person with disability. And whether the property for which the variance is being requested was acquired in good faith and any hardship was not created by the applicant. The board also considers whether the variance granted will not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent property and nearby properties in the proximity of the geographic area, or that the condition or situation of the property concerned is not so general or recurring in nature as to make reasonably practicable the adoption of an amendment to the ordinance. The granting the variance will not result in a use that is not otherwise permitted on the property or change the zoning classification of the property, and that the relief or remedy obtained through the variance is not available through a special exception process as provided for under the zoning and/or subdivision ordinance. When deciding appeals of the zoning administrator, the board must use its judgment to determine if the administrator was correct. For tonight's meeting, the staff reports for each case on tonight's agenda can be found on the BZA website. Staff has placed a link to the agenda in the chat section of the session. If you have not seen the report for your case, you may wish to review it before your item is called. Staff has also placed a link in the chat for supplemental material received after the staff reports were prepared. The order of our meeting is as follows. First, cases will be called and staff will be given a brief report and provide their recommendation. Following that, board members will ask any questions of staff that they may have. Next, applicants or their representatives will be given an opportunity to make comments to support the application or appeal. Then, if there are speakers for the item, we will call them one at a time. After we hear from the speakers for and against the proposal, the board may permit the applicant a brief opportunity to clarify any points. The board may also ask questions of any of the speakers, but we do not permit nor will we condone any cross-examination or direct questioning by others. We have deemed the following time limits for applicants and speakers to be sufficient. 20 minutes for applicants of appeal, 5 minutes for applicants of use permits and variances, 3 minutes for speakers representing organizations, and 2 minutes for those speaking as individuals. After the board has gathered all the information we need and has discussed the case, we will decide the matter by voting on a motion duly made and seconded. A majority is needed to approve any motion. Any appeal from the decisions of this board must be made to the circuit court in accordance with state law. So, some specific instructions on how the virtual meeting will run. Tonight's meeting is available to stream from the county website via a Microsoft Teams link. There's also a dial-in phone option for those who wish to use it. If board members, presenters, or speakers lose internet connectivity during today's meeting, please reconnect with us by phone. Please keep your phones and devices muted until you are called upon. Turn off sound to any other devices around you to minimize interference. For those joining via Teams, please turn off your video feed. Only board members will leave their cameras on. When called upon to speak, please turn on your camera and unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon that is located at the meeting command bar. The moderator does not have the ability to unmute you. If you are dialing in by phone, press *6 to unmute. The meeting chat is active for presenters or board members who need technical assistance only. The meeting chat should not be used for discussion, public comment, questions about agenda items, or requests for more information. All public comments must be shared verbally for the record during the assigned public testimony period. Board members, if you wish to be recognized to speak on an item, please seek recognition verbally as usual, or you have the raised hand function. In either case, once you have been recognized, you may unmute yourselves. All voting tonight will be taken via roll call. For applicants and public speakers, you will be called upon by county staff at an assigned time. Pre-registration to today's hearing was requested. We will accommodate any additional speakers only if time permits. Public comments will take place within the timeframes stated earlier, the same as we would at an in-person meeting. During public comment, a speaking timer will be displayed on the screen by staff. If you are dialing in by phone and unable to see the screen, we will provide an audible warning when 30 seconds are remaining. You will be muted when your time has concluded. Lastly, this is a public forum. Today's meeting will be recorded and posted to the county's website. All information associated with today's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to the Freedom of Information Act requirements. After your case is heard, you are welcome to stay for the balance of the session or leave at your convenience. This concludes the introductory remarks. Mr. Bowen, would you call the first item, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Our first case number is V-11704-21-UP-1. It is a use permit request by Michael Hoffman on behalf of Jorge Campos of AZ Properties Incorporated, the owner, to permit a left side setback of 4.4 feet to the window wells from the left side property line instead of 5 feet as required, regarding a new 3-story one-family dwelling in the R10 zoning district on the premises known as 1211 20th Street South. Staff recommends that the board accept the withdrawal of this application from the January 2022 BZA hearing agenda. Please note there is supplemental material for this case that came in after the application packet was assembled and printed. And please also note that we have additional speakers who have signed up to speak on this item.
All right. Mr. Bone, can you describe the supplemental material?
Yes, I believe we received 2 online comments of opposition.
Okay. So just to clarify, the application is being withdrawn by the applicant.
Yes, Madam Chair, the project plans were revised. I believe a staff decision was made by the zoning plan reviewer on December 7th that the new proposal did not require relief from the BZA.
All right. Will you, I don't see the speakers. If you have them, or is Mr. Campos or his agent, Mr. Hoffman, interested in speaking?
I believe we might also have Leap Kim from this, who's authorized to speak on this application, was planning to attend, but I don't see his name currently in the list of attendees.
All right. And is Ms. Alice here? Ooh. Sorry. I do see Leap Kim. Sorry, just a moment.
Yes, I do see Leap Kim now. Yep.
Okay, just Miss Palace, if you would just wait one moment. Does Mr. Kim wish to speak? Okay, he is muted, so I'm going to move on. Miss Palace, thank you for indulging me.
Yes, so it's been withdrawn.
That is correct. The application, there may be construction, but it does not require relief from the BZA.
Then that's fine.
Okay. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak on this? Mr. Bowen, I have the recommendation. Could the motion just say accept the withdrawal of this application, period?
Yeah, absolutely. You're free to amend the resolution as you see fit, and we will note it in the minutes as such.
Only because, by stating from the January 2022 agenda, it might leave a question open as to whether it would appear on another agenda. The fact is that it will never appear on another agenda.
Absolutely.
Unless it comes back as a new application.
Okay, yeah, I understand. That makes sense to me.
Ms. Freshman?
Motion?
Yep.
In the case V-11704-21-UP1, I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals accept the withdrawal of this application.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Arthurs. Any further discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Arthurs?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion to accept the withdrawal of this application carries 4-0. Next item, Mr. Bowen.
Absolutely. The next item is case number V-11711-21-UP-1. This is a carryover item. It is a use permit request by Catherine and Christopher Ramuzzi, the owners, to permit a right side setback of 8.1 feet, 5 feet to the eave, instead of 10 feet, 6 feet to the eave as required, regarding a 2-story addition to an existing one-family dwelling in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 5020 12th Street South. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? All right. Are either Catherine or Christopher Ramuzzi with us tonight?
I'm here. How's it going?
I hear you. I don't see you yet. Did you turn on your video?
I can see myself.
Okay, it'll take a moment.
Okay.
There you go. All right. Welcome. Is there anything you'd like to say on behalf of your application?
Per the request from the board on our last meeting to make contact with our neighbors, we made contact with 90% of them. No objections. Everyone was overwhelmingly in support.
All right. You have a rear neighbor on George Mason that you were not able to contact?
That's the one we are not able to contact. We did leave behind an additional letter with, our grading plan, contact information, self-addressed stamped envelope as well. And haven't kind of heard anything from that as well. So I feel like, we've tried very hard to make contact with them as kind of the one outstanding person.
All right. Board members, any questions for the applicant? So are you back in town permanently?
No, ma'am. We need to get to work on the house first.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion from the board? If not, is there a motion?
Are there speakers?
Are there
No, there are no
speakers?
speakers for this case.
No?
At least not signed up speakers.
Is there anyone here wishing to speak? Okay. Ms.
Okay.
Freshman?
Thank you. On case V-11711-21-UP1, I move the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit subject to the conditions listed.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Clark to grant the use permit with conditions. Any further discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Arthurs?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion to grant the use permit carries 4-0. Thank you for doing that additional follow-up, Mr. Ramuzzi. That makes it easier for us to understand your application.
No worries. Happy to do it. Thank you very much for the approval.
You're welcome. Happy New Year. Mr. Bowen, will you call the next item, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. The next item on the agenda is case number V-11715-21-UP-1. This is also a carryover item, a use permit request by J. Zalea on behalf of Z George LLC, the owners, to permit a street setback of 10.2 feet to the main building, 9.2 feet to the main building eve instead of 25 feet to the main building, 21 feet to the main building eve, a street setback of 10.4 feet to the front porch, 9.2 feet to the porch eve instead of 21 feet to the porch, 19.5 feet to the porch eve, a street setback of 17.8 feet to the rear detached garage, 16.8 feet to the garage eve instead of 25 feet to the rear detached garage, 21 feet to the garage eve as required, all from 20th Street North, and to permit a side setback of 4.1 feet to the areaway instead of 5 feet to the areaway as required, regarding a new one-family dwelling and rear detached garage on a corner lot in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 2001 North George Mason Drive. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions. An alternative resolution has been provided should the BZA see fit to deny the request because they feel they do not have the material necessary to determine if the requested setback relief should be approved. Please note that there is supplemental material for this case that came in after the application packet was assembled and printed. And please also note that we have additional speakers who have signed up to speak on this item.
Thank you. Can you describe the supplemental material?
Yes, Madam Chair. I believe we have 2 online comments from nearby residents, as well as additional information submitted by Mr. Zalea today in regards to additional outreach that he has conducted.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions for staff?
Yes.
Ms. Freshman?
Yeah, I noted that the Halls Hill Highview Park Historic Preservation Coalition has submitted a letter, and I read in the report, I believe, that the Civic Association doesn't support this application. One of the reasons we deferred it was for the applicant to meet with them. But am I missing something? I don't see something from the Civic Association itself.
Ms. Freshman, to your question.
I don't dispute staff's claim, of their opinion, but typically we would have something, some sort of formal comment from the association.
Madam Chair and Mrs. Freshman, I believe we do have some comments on this case from the applicant as well as the Civic Association. So you're looking for some sort of record in theory about the proceedings of the Civic Association meeting?
It isn't necessary, other than the fact that seemed to be, that meeting was the principal reason for the carryover. And the historic folks have submitted a letter, but I didn't see one from the Civic Association. I'm presuming that meeting took place. The applicant, I guess, could speak to that.
Yes, we also have, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to also add that I believe our speakers that have signed up to speak on this case are from the Civic Associations bordering, okay. So they might be able to lend some or shed some light onto the proceedings of the meeting.
Mr. Bowen,
yes,
so
Chair.
we have a letter from the Halls Hill Highview Park Historic Preservation Coalition, but we also have a letter signed by Wilma from Wilma Jones. Is that the Civic Association letter?
Madam Chair, are you looking at our supplemental materials or our actual application packet?
It's in your packet.
Okay.
There's an email from Wilma Jones who says a member of our board will register to speak. I was wondering if that was the Civic Association letter.
Yes, I believe that's what I considered the Civic Association letter.
Ms. Freshman, it's signed by, it's signed respectfully Wilma, and it's from Wilma Jones. Do you see that one?
Yeah, I see it.
Towards the end of the packet.
I was looking at farther down where it said that they were waiting for a meeting.
Yeah.
I see it now. Thank you.
Yeah, we can clarify that, but that's, I took that to be the Civic Association letter, but we'll certainly clarify that. Thank you. That's a good point. Who's SR? Mr. Rizzi? Do you have your hand up?
Rizzi. Yes. Madam Chair, I just wanted to let you know that some of your questions have actually been answered in the chat. And since things in the chat should be read aloud for everyone, I wanted to let you know that in the chat they said there should be a letter from the CA, which was sent by the association. 1/2/22 is the date of the letter from President Wilma Jones. And okay. Yes, that is the president. So those were answers to your questions that were placed in chat that I want to put into the record.
Okay, thank you very much. So Wilma Jones is the president of the Civic Association, and we do have a letter from her. Thank you, Mr. Rizzi. Any other questions for staff? All right, is the applicant with us, Mr. Zelaya?
Yes, good evening. I'm here.
You're kind of faint.
Hang on 1 second. Is this a little bit better?
It's getting better.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I can increase the volume here. Is that helping any?
Same.
Yeah, still pretty faint, but
still pretty faint.
Not impossible to hear.
Give me 1 second. I'll sign in with my other computer, and I will try to speak loudly in the interim.
Okay.
So as we discussed on our last meeting, we are looking for the relief set forth in the packet that was approved by staff. And now we're carrying over. Now, just to clarify, on the meeting with the association, we did actually meet with them, and I believe they were set for about an hour's time, and we gave them over an hour to ask and clarify any questions that they had with the project. So we did conduct that meeting, and we were, preview to that civic association meeting. So I just wanted to clarify that as well. So our asks are, I suppose, clear on the documentation, and we actually conducted outreach with all of our neighbors, and we knocked on all the doors several times, and we were able to garner support from the neighbors to our left on George Mason Drive. Both neighbors across the street, they all provided written approval and support for the plan. We have verbal approval from the neighbor next door across 20th Street, which is the road you see now, to our right. And we were able to then get written support from another neighbor that we adjoined, which is the one behind the one to the right. We received approval from them.
Mr. Salaya, do you have the staff report in front of you? It would be helpful if you would give us addresses so that we.
Yep.
So you have a neighbor at 2003. It would be your neighbor to the left.
Give me 1 second. Pull this up here. Yeah, to the left. So that neighbor to the left provided full support in a written statement.
We have that written statement. What is his name?
His name is.
Madam Chair, just for your knowledge, I'm bringing up the map on screen, if that's helpful.
That's helpful, yes. I don't see anything in writing from your neighbor. Just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing.
Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Yeah, his name is Alan Breland, and that's 2003 North George Mason Drive. It should be in the packet. It was supplemental documentation sent to Bowen and Mr. Rissy. I hope they have that in the packet.
It is in the packet,
Which packet, Ms. Freshman?
the original. Or the staff one.
So
It's one of the brown page, one of the nasty looking pages.
Okay, I see it. That's Alan, looks like Alan. Okay, got it.
yeah,
So you're that 2003, all right. And then from your rear neighbor at 2000, you sent a supplemental material that you had verbal approval, correct?
that's correct. Unfortunately, she just didn't have enough time to be able to provide written because she was actually expecting a call a few minutes after our visit. But we did get a verbal approval from 2000 North Emerson Street.
Do you have her name? Do you have her name?
Oh boy, Mike, what's her name? The lady behind us. No, we didn't. We didn't get her name. It was such a quick visit. She was kind of in a hurry, but we explained the desire and our intent, and she was in full support. But she unfortunately couldn't give us. As everybody's working from home with Zoom meetings and all, so she was really pressed for time. But we can definitely get her name if necessary. But she did provide her support. Now.
Okay.
Also, 2000 George Mason Drive across the street provided a written support letter 5200 North George Mason Drive provided a written support letter. 5120 20th North provided a written support letter. 1925 North George Mason Drive provided verbal support as well.
Okay. 5120. Oh, all right. Thank you for that. Anything else you want to add?
I wanted to add that I believe there was a concern if we look at the site now with a sight line from what I understood, that there was some sort of concern with the sight line of the project if it was once it was completed. And we did produce some renderings that we were able to send to Mr. Bowen, and I hope he received it, with actual photos of the site and actual sight line conditions of what would be once the home was built. And it shows clearly that there would be absolutely no sightline or visibility issues because the front of this house has no trees. And in actuality, the home adjacent to us across 20th Street is actually providing a lot of visibility concerns. We were trying to figure out if that was a valid concern, so we went ahead and explored it and figured out that our sight lines and our perspectives once the house is built is actually proves to have zero concern, and it's actually more so the house across the street that provides most of the concern when it's in reference to the sight line, because they have a lot of foliage out front, which is beautiful. Yet once parked at that stop sign, proves a little bit cumbersome to look around it. But from our lot, as you can see, is completely clear. That shrub on the front will be gone, so that's no obstruction whatsoever. So hopefully these photos and these renderings will be able to clarify any questions that are had with that regard.
All right. So your proposed house is 10, you're asking for a 10-foot setback in the front, is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
All right, but that is closer than the houses next door.
Actually, it's not a 10-foot setback. That's on the side. The front is actually 20.4 to the front porch. Mr. Bowen, I think I'm being absolutely correct here.
So Mr. Bowen, can you clarify it says a permitted street setback of 10.2 to the wall. Is that the front?
So this is a corner lot, so there's technically two street frontages. The relief from looking at this map, the front of the property is technically considered to be the George Mason frontage, where I'm putting my cursor now. On a corner lot, the front is generally the narrower of the two street frontages. So our front setback would be on the George Mason side, and according to our advertisement language, just want to double check that we're being correct here. I believe those are all on the side lot line where we're seeking relief from the 20th Street frontage.
Yep.
So it's a little confusing as to which frontage you're asking for relief.
So on the 20th Street side,
This is for Mr. Bowen. I understand.
Gotcha.
I'm because it says it just says a street setback of 10.2.
On the third from bottom line in or at least on the document I'm looking at, it says all from 20th Street North.
Okay, all from 20th Street North. Okay. All right. And so there's no relief being requested on the front?
Oh, sorry, is that a question for me, Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Bowen.
Insofar as I can tell, based on our advertising language, I do not believe we have any frontage or any request for relief on the George Mason frontage. Mr.
Okay.
Ricci, I believe, wrote this report, and he's in attendance. He might have additional clarification on that remark.
Mr. Rissy, could you just clarify that there's no setback relief requested on the front?
That is correct, Madam Chair. The
Okay.
house location is 25.2 feet, which is a by right location.
Yep.
The porch itself is 21.2, also by right, and
Yep.
the eaves and planter boxes are allowed encroachments.
Okay, so in terms of any site issues on this corner, the house is within the zoning regulation.
Correct. We're well outside of the visual clearance triangle on the corner lot.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Thank you, both of you. All right, anything else you'd like to add? I think we understand your application. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Ms. Clark?
I was gonna ask the applicant if he considered any reduction in the size of the unit and what's the planned usage for the house, and the impact on traffic.
So the planned usage for the home is the same. It stays as a single family. So there is no change in use in any way. And as far as traffic, please clarify that because I'm confused because all the streets are public and I'm not sure what you're asking.
If the house is scaled for 6 bedrooms, is it just one family gonna be living in the home?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, and you have a garage and a parking lot, correct? I mean, a driveway.
Yes, that's correct. We have that's on an existing curb apron cut on the 20th Street side. That's existing to remain.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, let's hear from the.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, did we have some proof of the verbal support provided by 1925?
1925. That, according to the applicant, he has verbal approval, but not in writing.
Nothing in writing, okay.
May I explain that?
Sure, certainly.
So the wonderful neighbor there, who's actually very kind and very welcoming and great to speak with at 1925. So she received and she spoke with us and she was very put off by 1927. If you notice to her right, there are two 1927s, and
Yes.
so the issue had come up that we, sat there for a half an hour explaining that she was in full support, but she was really jaded because apparently the builder slash developer or whoever was doing 1927 had promised her that it was going to be a one home site, and she signed a form for him, which she said is actually documented that could be found, and it ended up being two homes. So she is very skeptical. Wonderful lady, lives alone, and is kind of skeptical now with anything happening because of the fact that the folks who approached her for 1927 told her one thing and something else ended up happening. I'm not sure how that happened, but it did happen. So she was very jaded, and so she said, I don't want to sign anything because I've been already burned by somebody else, and not a reflection on us. But she said, I support the plan that you've shown me, and we showed her renderings and the layout and everything. And she said, great, that would be wonderful to be able to have that next door in replacement of the dilapidated home that's there currently. She's definitely not happy with what's there and is very excited to see the plan come true.
Any other questions? It is kind of unusual to have two 1927s next to each other. I suppose we don't have an immediate explanation for that, but it's not relevant to our case, but just curious. If there's no other questions for the applicant, let's hear from our speakers. Mr. Rissy, I don't see the list, so I don't know who to call.
Madam Chair, we have Willie Jackson Baker as well as Sandra Green signed up to speak on this case.
Okay, would you just call the first one on the list? I don't see the list.
Okay, no problem. Our first speaker that we have signed up is Willie Jackson Baker.
All right. Are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
I certainly can.
Okay,
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. May I make a correction before I get started? In
Certainly.
the packet, you have a letter from the Halls Hill Highview Park Historic Preservation Coalition. That letter was actually sent before December's meeting, and it was not included in the December packet. So I'm here tonight to speak for the organization.
All right. Thank you.
Good. And also 5200 George Mason Drive is not an address. I think that Mr. Zelaya said that he had information from them. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here before you tonight, not only as a resident of the community, but as a representative of the Halls Hill Highview Park Historic Preservation Coalition, an organization designed to preserve and maintain the heritage of the community. We all understand the importance of growth and development and would be pleased with a newer, more modern structure at 2001 North George Mason Drive. But it must be something aligned with community and agreed upon by all. Historically, by design, the lots in our neighborhood were substandard and streets somewhat narrower than other neighborhoods. Therefore, we feel the design presented by Mr. Zelaya is far too massive for a tiny residential corner lot in our neighborhood. A house this side would impede the sight line entering and exiting 20th Street to and from George Mason Drive, a very busy thoroughfare aligning the community. 19th Street, 19th Road, and 20th Street have already been the sites of accidents or near accidents due to the sightline factor. Those of us who have lived here have experienced that many times. Having no parking available on George Mason Drive, a house this size with a one-car garage would only add to the traffic buildup and cars parked along 20th Street, forcing pedestrians to walk in the street since there are no sidewalks on 20th Street. Most importantly, Mr. Zelaya was asked if he would consider altering his design, compromising with the community. His response was an emphatically no. This shows a total disregard for community and county procedures. As we have had in many recent years, we see more and more movement in the community from developers with an I attitude, wanting what they want when they want it. This has only further divided the community and disassembled our once very close-knit, family-oriented community. It is for these reasons that I and the Halls Hill Highview Park Historical Preservation Coalition cannot support Mr. Zelaya's request as it stands. We ask that you consider what we are saying and that you deny his variance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
You're welcome.
Mr. Bowen, next speaker.
Yes, Madam Chair. Our next speaker is Sandra Green from the John M. Langston Citizens Association.
Welcome, Ms. Green.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. And I am representing the John M. Langston Civic Association. our association did not receive a notification from the zoning office about the initial request. It was brought to our attention by a resident, and consequently, at our December executive board meeting, we did discuss the variance request, and we voted to send a letter to the board, zoning board, to say that we had not received an official notification of the variance and that we had concerns and questions. So when Mr. Zelaya went before the zoning commission that next night, he was advised to come back to the Civic Association to present to them, and he did. And at the end of his presentation, there were lots of questions and concerns, and consequently, the association voted unanimously to send a letter to say that we do not support his request for variance. And it was for these reasons. First, we thought that the project is much too large for the site. We have had many mega mansions built in our community and on lots that are substandard, and this one is just like the others. It's much too large for that site. Secondly, we were opposed. Mr. Zelaya said that if you see in our letter, the president said that he would not consider living in the home, and that our issue was not his living in the home. Our issue is how many people are going to be in this home of 6 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. And we have been stung in the past with people that come in and who have built homes here, who have said they were single family homes. And we longtime residents have witnessed these people having 5 and 6 people in the home. One of them, and I can verify this, all men, each of them had a car, coming at different hours, very clearly not a family. So we have some reluctance. We're skeptical and we don't want to get jaded. We don't want to have a massive home built in our community that becomes a rooming home. We do not want this. We have recently been engaged with the Virginia Hospital Center on their new campus construction. And we have been working with them to mitigate what could be issues in the way of trafficking, parking. And this home is in the general area of the Virginia Hospital Center. And we do not need any additional parking issues or traffic issues in that area. So it's for these reasons that we asked Mr. Zelaya, would he consider building something smaller? And like Ms. Jackson said, he emphatically said he would not. And our association wants to know, why is it developers continuously come to our community and home lots that we built our homes on, and we built based on the requirements of the lot? Suddenly, so many people want to come in and build these homes and ask for 3 and 4 variances, which clearly tells us that it doesn't fit the lot. And those of us, I have been here for 75 years, I know that lot. And I know what was on that lot. And I know that in my 75 years of living in Highview, the lot hasn't grown. But now we have this individual requesting this huge home. So we do not support the request.
Does that conclude your testimony?
I'm sorry. Yes, it does. And we request that Mr. Zalea's request for the variance be denied. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I am not seeing all my colleagues on the screen. Do you know why that could be? I okay.
It's probably because we haven't spoken in a while.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I see everyone, so I think everyone is present.
Yeah, they appeared after I said something. All right. So we have heard from the applicant and we have had some testimony. Any questions that you have of the applicant or the speakers? All right. So the issues that, who is this Mr. Zelaya?
Yes, it is.
Did you wish to comment?
Yeah, yes, please. I just wanted to clarify one of the points with regard to the sightline situation, and that was the photos I believe Mr. Bowen had posted up earlier with the perspectives of actually how everything would be. And we actually have 3D renderings. It won't take long. Do you think you could put those up, Mr. Bowen?
Mr. Zelaya, let's see if they're necessary before we do that.
Sure.
Okay. If my colleagues have any questions on the sightlines, partly because we've established that the front setback is not asking for any relief. So the sightlines should not be an issue. Since they conform to current zoning. But that was one of the issues with sightlines. The other was, whether multiple bedrooms would encourage occupancy violations. In other words, people using the building, in a legal manner. We really can't address occupancy issues. That's someone else. We can only look at the property as it is presented to us. Ms. Freshman?
Yeah, I think we're running up against an issue that's county-wide in the sense that the cost of land is such that any tear down becomes a building that is inappropriate compared to its neighbors. Even if it's not a McMansion, and I understand that the economics of it. Ordinarily, having driven by this site and through the neighborhood a lot, the house itself doesn't strike me as being inordinately out of size because there are a lot of new homes or newish homes that are similarly sized. So I can understand why the applicant might assume that it would be acceptable. I do think that it's a difficult case because of that, and yet we have to respect the opinions of the community as well. So I understand that staff has recommended approval, and generally speaking, I would agree with that, but I am a little troubled by the fact that it is particularly the number of bedrooms. It strikes me that you could build a 4-bedroom home and you might still have 4 singles in there, but at least it would be legal. And the whole issue of cars and whatnot is legitimate. So I'm troubled by this application.
Ms. Arthur?
I'm in the same boat. I'm also troubled by it. It kind of bothers me that the occupancy issue doesn't come up in this situation because of the exact reason that Ms. Freshman said. I'm sitting next to a McMansion next to me that was on a vacant lot that is filled with 4 single guys right now. And it was when they went before the BZA, they told them it was going to be a single family home with a family in it and not rented out. And I know that it doesn't factor in, but 6 bedrooms, I mean, unless you find a family with 4 children, which exist but aren't as common in Arlington, then who's going to fill up this house? And you're going to end up with a bunch of single people with cars. And that does create a problem, especially with this hospital being built and the addition right there. I know we're not supposed to factor that in, but 6 bedrooms is just enormous. So I don't see how that's not a factor at some point.
Ms. Clark?
Off mute. I would agree with Ms. Freshman and Ms. Arthurs. I think this is a humongous home that's being built, and I would have appreciated if the owner was willing to consider some reduction in size, because even though he's saying the sight line is not an impact, I think traffic on corners like that are impacts already. And with the building of the Virginia Hospital Center, that is going to bring another problem to the community, which we face all the time when corner lots are built out. So I am a little torn and not in favor of supporting the design as presented.
Mr. Bowen, I'm looking at the our package, and there's 2 plats in here, and they both seem to be the new house, but there isn't one with the existing house. Am I reading this correctly?
There is one with the existing house towards the end of the packet.
Towards the end of the packet, okay. What's the significance of the 2 plats that are side by side? Are they intended to be the same? They've got different.
Madam Chair, I might direct that question to Mr. Rissy, as he was the author of the staff report here. And I'll take a look in the meantime.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if the significance of the 2 plats here.
Madam Chair, this is Mr. Rissy. I'm not seeing a difference between them.
They just have different file numbers, but it's just, well.
I think they're both sheet 2 of 2. I think maybe sheet 1 of 2 should have been inserted in front of it. Instead, we have sheet 2 of 2 twice.
Okay, twice. All right. All right. So we're all So that's that. We're all working from the same. And I see. Thank you, Ms. Arthurs. I see the other plat here.
And I do
What
see
happens
some
when you read
minor,
surveys for a
Madam Chair
living?
and Ms. Arthurs, I do see some minor differences on the plat. For instance, there's a measurement on the first plat in the packet of 9.2 feet towards the bottom right that is not shown on the previous plat. So I believe one might just have a bit more annotation than the other.
Where's that?
Oh yeah, I see that. Right by the porch.
I do.
By the porch.
Usually they'll put revision dates on here if they change things, but this surveyor did not.
Yeah. 2024. Line planter box. All right.
Can I ask a question? What is the square footage of the proposed house? I don't recall seeing it, or I'm just not finding it quickly.
Ms. Arthurs, we don't calculate in zoning the square footage. We do calculate the footprint, which should be in the proposed changes section. In terms of the square footage, I would refer that question to Mr. Zalea, who might be able to answer it better.
Yeah, right now.
It's fine. It's fine.
1400. So if you compare the main building footprint in the table, they give some comparables. All right. So in terms of providing the applicant some guidance, is the side setback on 20th Street the main issue, or is it just the volume entirely?
For me, it's the size of the house and the capacity. Even though it is comparable to, as the chart shows, comparable footprint. But that just speaks to my earlier point that you can drive around in this neighborhood and most other Arlington neighborhoods and find ginormous houses on relatively small lots. That's the economics of the cost of dirt in Arlington.
I have my hand raised.
Mr. Zelaya, well, I see your hand. I want to continue with the board for a moment here. Ms. Clark, did you remove your hand? Okay. All right, Mr. Zelaya, go ahead and if you have a comment.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to clarify that, as stated, there are other comparable properties with same size, and obviously, what gets done with the use, as you know, it's at that point out of anybody's control naturally, and I don't know that it is up for review in this meeting, and I believe it's not previous to this. To this board for that kind of use situation, but the relief is being sought on the side setback because the lot, when created such a dynamic that if the current setbacks were to be followed, the house would end up being, about 6 foot wide total. Therefore, it is an unbuildable lot for zoning code today, and so we're just trying to, make something out of this where if we were to stick to the existing or the zoning code that exists now, that essentially the house would not be buildable or the lot would not be a buildable lot. So,
Mr. Zelaya, you have a in the plat that shows the existing structure. Do you know what that setback is from the street? I mean, there is a house there that has a setback greater than yours. Do you know what that setback is?
I don't know offhand. Give me 1 second and let me see if I can get that for you.
From 20th, because the existing house is set further from the street, so you really can't say it's unbuildable because there is a structure there.
And Madam Chair and Mr. Zelaya, I am sharing the existing plat now on screen.
Okay.
Okay, I don't see a measurement called out there.
I don't either.
Yeah, so I don't see that.
But would you agree that it's set further back?
Do you mean from the 20th Street or from the George
Yes,
Mason side?
from 20th Street.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
The, the proposed house is about 22 foot wide, as per plan. Therefore, it would be a lot less than 22 feet wide as it exists currently. I'm sorry, correction is 21'7" proposed.
Lost connectivity for a moment, but I'm back. So where are we? Where are we, folks?
Calling the question.
All right, let's try a motion.
Okay. In the case B-11715-21-UP1, I move the Board of Zoning Appeals deny the use permit.
Second it.
Motion made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Clark to deny the use permit. Any discussion?
May I say something?
Mr. Zelaya, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so it appears that nothing is of concern more so than the bedroom count. So the upstairs, the uppermost level has a area that is called a bedroom just because it has a closet. Now, there's nothing preventing us from removing the closet and making it a storage room of sorts.
All right, let's pause here. Colleagues, we have a motion, and Mr. Zelaya has made some suggestions, indication that he's willing to make some modification. Do we want to go ahead with our motion, or do we want to reconsider?
I'd like to go ahead. I think we still have a community problem.
Okay. All
and
right.
I think that it's not, we don't replan or redesign. If it's a basic house, but one of the spaces is no longer labeled as a bedroom, that doesn't really address the issue in my mind.
All right. So we have a motion made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Clark to deny the use permit. If there's no further discussion, I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Arthurs?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Let's see, that motion to deny carries 4-0. And the only question I have is, do we want to further state our reasoning? What I understand is that it's not compatible with surrounding structures. But the motion's already carried, so that's just an addendum.
I think the discussion raises the relevant issues.
Okay. All right. That is, I'm sorry, your application was denied. Mr. Bowen, will you call the next item, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Just a moment. Our next application is V-11717-21-UP-1, a use permit request by Sean McCorkle and Maria Elena Zalea, the owners, to permit a street setback of 17.3 feet to the porch from North Edison Street, 16.8 feet to the porch eave instead of 21 feet to the porch, 19.5 feet to the porch eave as required, regarding a new front porch and second-story addition to an existing one-family dwelling in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 910 North Edison Street. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions. Please note that there is supplemental material that came in for this case after the application packet was assembled and printed.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Can you describe the supplemental material?
Yes, in this instance, I believe our property owner reached out to the school, which is across the street from this property. You can see a little bit of the edge of the school lot at the bottom of this photo, and received some feedback from the principal.
All right, excellent. Any questions for staff? All right, is Mr. McCorkle or Ms. Savala with us?
Yes, I'm Sean McCorkle.
Good evening. I
Good
hear
evening.
you. There you are. Good evening. Do you have anything you'd like to say on behalf of your application?
No, not too much. It's I think, a fairly straightforward proposed renovation, and we're actually going to improve the house while also maintaining its character, because we're going to be building within the existing footprint. And we have an interesting situation because we are at the end of the street and we literally have one direct neighbor, and the school across the street. And we were able to get support from the school principal and our direct neighbor, and then another neighbor that's on a side street. So that would be it. But I'm available for questions if you have any.
All right, Mr. McCorkle, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Are we ready to move on?
Are there speakers?
Are there any speakers?
No, there are no speakers signed up for this case, at least.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
Ms. Freshman?
case V 11717-21-UP1. I move the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the attached proposed resolution approving the use permit subject to the conditions listed.
A second.
All right. Motion made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Arthurs to grant the use permit with conditions. Any further discussion? Appreciate the outreach you did, especially to the school. That's dotting all the I's and T's. I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Are you muted?
No. I voted aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Arthurs?
Aye.
Votes aye. Motion to grant the use permit carries 4-0. You have your permit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time. Thanks. Bye.
Goodbye. Mr. Rissy, Mr. Bowen, will you call the next item?
Yes, I can call the next case, or Mr. Rissy can if you'd like, but I'll do it. So the next case is V-11718-21-UP-1. This is a use permit request by Zachary Cote on behalf of Peter and Kelsey Brones, the owners, to permit a right side setback of 4.2 feet to the wall of an addition, 3.2 feet to the eave, and 1.8 feet to the wall of a rear detached garage, 0.8 feet to the garage eave instead of 8 feet to the walls, 5 feet to the eaves as required, and to permit a setback of 23.8 feet to the wall of the addition from South Joyce Street instead of 25 Street as required, and to permit a rear setback of 1.6 feet to the wall, no eave, of a rear detached garage instead of 10 feet as required, regarding a new 2-story rear addition and a rear detached garage with a footprint of 616 square feet to an existing one-family dwelling on a corner lot in the R5 zoning district on the premises known as 1000 20th Street South. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions. Please note that there's supplemental material for this case that came in after the application packet was assembled and printed.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Could you describe the supplemental material?
Yes. In this instance, the applicant had initially provided a narrative of their neighborhood outreach efforts, and then in the past day or two, Ms. Brones has come back and provided additional text message and emails of support as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions for staff? I had just one question for you, Mr. Bowen. The living space above the garage, did you refer to this as an accessory space as opposed to a garage?
I probably refer to it as an accessory building or an accessory living space. I'm not sure if you're getting at the fact that this could be an accessory dwelling, but it does not meet that definition since there's no kitchen facilities.
Okay. And the term living space, is that a term of art? I mean, that I'm just reading from your staff report.
No, that is not the term that we define in our zoning ordinance. I'm just referring to living area. You know, it could be a bedroom, any space really other than a kitchen would be permitted there.
Okay, all right.
By right.
And so the setbacks for an accessory structure are the same as for a garage?
For an accessory structure like a garage that meets certain height requirements and certain footprint requirements, they can generally be situated on a corner lot 10 feet from the rear lot line and 1 foot from the side lot line. Now, that being said, this is an accessory building that exceeds our footprint allowance cap in the R6 district, which would be 560 square feet. So because it is, what's the exact number here? I believe it is about
616.
Yeah. So in that case, it has to meet the same setbacks as the main dwelling.
It's the main dwelling. Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Do we have the applicant, either Mr. Koth or Peter or Kelsey Brones?
Oh, I don't know how to do the hand. Hello, can you hear us?
I hear you. I don't see you. Yeah,
great.
now I see you. All right.
Okay, great.
Good evening.
Okay, so you can lower it. Sorry, I didn't know how to do the hand. Hi, we're the owners of 1000 20th Street South. I forgot what your question is. I'm so sorry.
I was welcoming you and asking you if you had any comments you wanted to make on behalf of your application.
Sure. Yeah, we're just really excited to make our house a little bit bigger so that we never have to move away. We love our neighborhood. We love our lot. And then the space above the garage, I know it sounded like there might be a concern about that. It's because both of our sets of parents, so our children's grandparents, would like a nice place to stay when they come visit. And so we wanted to give them a space above the garage so that they could be comfortable, visiting as long as they would like. As soon as things are opening up, then it's comfortable to visit again.
Yeah, but no kitchen. Your dad's gonna come to the
right.
main house and make
We're gonna make my dad come into the house to make pancakes. Yes.
All right. I'm sorry that gathering the neighborhood outreach was not clear for you when we started, and that you had to do some gathering at the last minute. But one of the trouble I had was matching up the text messages with the addresses of where the people lived.
Okay. No,
Did I lose you?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, it looks like something slipped, but we're back.
Yeah, the storm was not found the internet in our neighborhood.
You can see in the picture there.
Yeah, you see the downed line.
Oh.
Yeah. They have since come to fix it, but that was, yeah, with all the snow and ice.
And have a little
So-
around there while it's down there.
Okay, go ahead.
Do
Sorry,
you
go ahead.
have this? I'm trying to figure out which of your neighbors provided written support.
Sure. Yeah. So we've got. I pulled up the email. So I just sent Mr. Is it Bowen? Mr.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Bowen. I just sent you a screen capture of the text we got from our next door neighbors from 1004 20th Street South.
Okay.
In person, they've been very supportive. They're really excited. We brought all of the plans to them throughout the process, just as friends, let alone as neighbors who would be impacted. They're in support.
Yes, I do see an
2001
email from 7:45 tonight.
Right, yeah.
I can pull it on screen if the board would like.
That's fine.
Okay.
And the others, so you've got neighbors to behind you at
Yeah,
2020.
Yeah. Yeah, so the neighbors behind us, we have not been able to connect with them. I'm really sorry that we haven't been able to. Our understanding, based on kind of asking around, is that the owner of the property is not in especially good health right now. Has their children, adult children, are coming to like help and take care of things around the property, but we haven't been able to connect with them. I know in terms of sightlines, they're pretty minimally impacted, and in terms of parking along Joyce Street, it'll really be better because the garage that we're asking for is a 2-car garage, so that we can have both of our cars parked there, and still, if we have a guest, they can park in our driveway rather than having to park on the street.
Was asking because you're going to be building a taller garage and basically up against their back lot. So I just wanted to know if they had you dropped materials off there.
We've knocked. We've left like a little Christmas card with a note, but yeah, we haven't. I guess I
connect with them since we've moved in.
Yeah.
Successfully connected.
I'm sorry, you're a little bit faint.
He was just saying we've tried to connect with them just to say hello and chat since we've moved in, and we really haven't been able to do that.
Okay. And then you have neighbors across the street from you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay.
So the same deal. They just had renters move in. Maybe right across 20th Street. Is that what you mean, or do you mean 2001?
Across 20th Street. Yeah, across.
Right. Yeah.
Front yard.
Yeah. So that as far as we can tell, it's 2 different units in one house. We think they're both rented out. We've been, friendly kind of conversation. I got to know the people who lived there, but have recently moved out. Like I said, a new couple moved in, and I don't have contact information for the owner of the property. So, we've tried. I was hoping that with everybody out shoveling snow and everything, we'd be able to catch someone, but we haven't been able to. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
Again, for what it's worth, that front facing, so the side of our house that faces 20th Street across from them, we're not changing that at all. We're so crazy about this house. It was built in 1928. We want to do as little to the existing property as we possibly can.
Okay. Again, this is just for staff. There's a crazy address across the street. How can they have 1910 and 1001?
Madam Chair, I cannot say why they would have those addresses.
And 2 units on one lot.
We do see occasionally, I
probably
would
have
say, in
different
this
front
neighborhood,
doors.
there are some very old houses that have legal duplexes. I'm not sure if that's the case, but I know there has been zoning determinations previously with legal duplexes in otherwise unexpected locations.
They probably have one door on each street.
That's
Yeah,
exactly it. Yes.
yeah. Interesting. Okay. Any questions for the applicants?
I think
Ms. Freshman?
I think it's a pretty straightforward application. I am a little concerned about the rear neighbor, although it sounds like there are extenuating circumstances. I'm not sure about the outreach across Joyce, which, despite the fact there's a street in between, will still have some impact on those. I have a note, the 2001 apparently approved it, and the 2007 is vacant. I don't know about the 935 21st Street. I'm not raising major issues. I'm just observing that if you're trying to have input from all of the neighbors on all four sides, we're missing some.
Mm-hmm. We are.
I don't
So
know that we're going
2000
to get it, though.
So 2001, that was Grace Kelly. And applicant, you can speak.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yep. Okay. I really don't want to mess up. 2001 is owned by Kelly Grace or
Kelly Grace.
Grace Kelly. I think yeah, and it's a man named Louis that lives there. We have an email from Louis that says he is supportive of this. I know he often parks on 20th right like along our property, and so he'll be glad to not have to share that with any house guests. And he forwarded our email to the owner of the house, and she also said, "This sounds great."
Okay.
And then we are talking a lot with 2007 South Joyce. So again, the other one that's kind of facing our property. Yeah, exactly. And there will be somebody living there very soon. It sounds like the grandson of the owner. But and again, everybody that we've talked to from that family, and we did provide written confirmation too, they're all very much in support.
So 2000, you do have support from 2007?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I think those are among the text messages?
Those are both emails from 2001 and 2007.
Okay.
The text message was from 1009 21st, which is the kind of catty corner diagonal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see it. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Who also said, great. Yes. And then, right. And then the most recent one from 1004 20th Street South, our next door neighbor, who will be most impacted.
Yes, those are the streeters. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Yeah, I wish we could have helped you gather, advise you. We do have written instructions. I know it's a little late for you to look at them now, but on how to contact property owners that, when there's a renter in the building. So, you probably won't be coming back to us, but certainly spread the word that if your neighbors are looking to come before the BZA for an application, that there are instructions, and that, we'll try to be as helpful as we can in making sure that, you contact the people that you need to contact before the meeting, so it doesn't have to be a last-minute scramble for you. And I appreciate your diligence in getting everything together, but it could have been easier. Any other questions for staff? Or, I mean, for the applicant? All right, matters before the board. Do we want to try a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll try the motion.
Okay, Ms. Clark,
In matters of V11718221-UP-1, I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the attached proposed resolution approving the use permit subject to conditions listed.
and that's use permit V-117-18-21-UP-1, correct?
Yes.
All right. Motion made by
Second.
Ms. Clark, seconded by Ms. Freshman. Any further discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman,
Aye.
Ms. Clark,
Aye.
Ms. Arthurs,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Motion to grant the use permit carries 4-0. So good luck with your project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Bowen, will you call the next item?
Yes, Madam Chair. Our next item is case number V-11719-21-UP-1. It is a use permit request by Bill and Laura Brothers, the owners, to permit a rear setback of 19.8 feet to the screen porch, 19.2 feet to the porch eave, instead of 21 feet to the screen porch, 19.5 feet to the porch eave as required, and to permit a right side setback of 6 feet to the screen porch instead of 8 feet as required, regarding a new one-story rear screen porch and deck addition to an existing one-family dwelling in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 717 North Edison Street. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Any questions for staff? Is either Bill or Laura Brothers with us tonight?
Yes, I am. This is Bill.
Good evening. I hear you. Don't see you yet. Are you going to join us with video?
I have my camera on.
Okay. There you go. It sometimes just takes a moment. Welcome.
Thank you.
Anything you'd like to add for your application?
One thing I'd like to add, I have neighbor support for on both sides of my house and across the street. When the materials were due, I hadn't yet gotten anything written from my neighbor directly behind me. I had verbal, but today I received they added their name to the neighbor support form letter that I have in my packet, and I did email that to Blake a couple of hours ago, so it's very late, but it is available.
I will check that I have that, Mr. Brothers, and Madam Chair, I can report back.
Okay. Yeah, I think we'll wait for you because we may not have a lot of discussion.
Yes, I do have an updated neighborhood petition from Mr. Brothers from 6:55 tonight. So yeah, right before our meeting started.
654 for 726 North George Mason.
Scrolling now. Yes, I do see a signature from 726 North George Mason Drive.
Excellent. Thank you for your diligence. Any questions for the applicant? Ms. Freshman?
I'm very happy with this complete application. I'd like to make a motion.
You have the floor.
I move the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the attached proposed resolution approving use permit V-11719-21-UP1, subject to the conditions listed.
I'll second it.
All right. Motion made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Clark. Any further discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Arthurs?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion to grant the use permit carries 4-0. You have your use permit.
Thank you very much.
All right. I appreciate your attention to the detail. Mr. Bowen, will you call the next item?
Yes, Madam Chair. The next item is case number V-11720-21-UP-1. It is a use permit request by Douglas Mascom and Colleen O'Hara, the owners, to permit a street setback of 19.2 feet to the front porch from South Aberdeen Street, 18.7 feet to the porch eave instead of 21 feet to the porch, 19.5 feet to the porch eave as required, regarding a new front porch to an existing one-family dwelling in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 101 South Aberdeen Street. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Any questions for staff? Are you Mr. Mashkuri?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine. Do you have anything you'd like to add to your application?
No, we did talk to all our neighbors on both sides and across the street, and got full support. We're excited. It's a very social neighborhood, so having us congregate on a front porch with our neighbors is something we're looking forward to, if approved.
Thank you. Is that an alley behind your house?
There is a walkway that goes down across the bridge over into the Barcroft neighborhood. Okay. So it's wooded back there, and a little creek and a bridge that takes you to the other neighborhood.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? All right, the discussions with the board. I don't see any speakers.
I did have a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just, your neighbor across the street, 104, we don't have anything from that person?
Oh, yes. She's across you to the left. She's rarely there. She's elderly and spends a lot of time with her family, I believe, in Maryland.
Well, we do have the immediate front
Yeah.
neighbor, right?
Correct. That's is it 100 across the street? Yeah,
Right,
100 is immediately across the street from us. 104 is across to the left.
Yeah.
Right. Just because it's a front porch, I wanted to at least mention it, but I don't have an objection.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely visible from 104.
Right.
I mean, we can continue to try and get something, but like I said, she's rarely there anymore.
Yeah, people's living habits have changed in the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And where she is in her life, I'm happy she has family with her, that she's able to go to some family folks.
All right. We ready to try a motion?
Sure.
Ms. Freshman?
I move the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the attached proposed resolution approving use permit V-11720-21-UP1 subject to the conditions listed.
I second.
Motion made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Arthurs to grant the use permit. Any further discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Arthurs?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion to grant the use permit carries 4-0. Enjoy your new porch.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time tonight.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, Mr. Bowen, will you call the last item on our agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. The last item on the agenda is case number V-11721-21-UP-1. It is a use permit request by Skylar Aarons on behalf of Brian and Jennifer Scamato, the owners, to permit a street setback of 5.6 feet to the wall and eave from 21st Road North instead of 25 feet as required, and to permit a street setback of 10.7 feet to the upper level building eave instead of 21 feet as required, regarding the rebuilding of a building wall, columns, and roof to an existing one-family detached dwelling with an upper level addition over non-conforming walls on a through lot in the R5 zoning district on the premises known as 4123 21st Road North. Staff recommends that the board adopt the attached proposed resolution granting the use permit request with conditions. Please note that there is supplemental material that came in for this case after the application packets were assembled and printed.
And would you describe the supplemental material?
Yes, we had additional email contact from Mr. Skylar Aarons in regards to the neighborhood outreach, as well as certified mail receipts.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions for staff? All right. So who's with, is it Mr. Aarons with us, or is it Brian and Jennifer Scamardo?
Yes, I'll be taking the lead, but the owners are on the line in case you guys have any questions or anything for them.
Welcome, Mr. Aarons.
Thank you. I'm glad to see everybody doing well. I apologize. I'm a little slow right now, kind of battling COVID, so I seem a little off from usual. That's probably why. As always, appreciate the opportunity for these requests. I just wanted to point out, I know you all go through this stuff before the hearing, so you get acquainted with it and ask questions. I do want to point out one thing before we start. I missed this on the packet on the staff report, but I just wanted to point for the record, and I don't know if this does get passed, if you could just make some type of note or indication that the plat that has handwriting on it versus the plat that was completely done by the surveyor, the plat that has handwriting on it can be voided to avoid any confusion. So that was just something that was an initial submission. And I always try to be a little bit precise, and I'm glad I did because I was off by a couple points there decimally on the setbacks. So I wanted to be precise, and so I had the engineer surveyor actually provide the proposed plat for you all. A lot of that stuff also is DES related. If you're familiar with the Department of Environmental Services, that's just information they like on the plats as well. So I was just trying to make sure that was added on the plat in case this one was approved. So that'd be number one. Number two, the owner is basically looking to just renovate this house. There's some additions going up. There's a rear addition off the back, but this is not like your typical knockdown rebuild McMansion. The Scamardos and are stationed overseas at the Mexican consulate. They have a family, and they're very eager and happy to be coming back home to Arlington, and actually hoping to have this thing constructed by the time school starts so that their kids can start school in Arlington in August. And so basically, just to go straight to the point with what's being requested, the structure, if you've seen the existing drawings or pictures or anything, it's essentially going to look very similar, the end product, to what's already there. There's a porch in the front that has habitable space above. It looks like that space has been existing, believe it or not, since the house was originally built. If you look at the existing floor plan in the upper level, it looks like it's all part of the original layout. And in keeping with the look of the existing area, we decided to kind of just rebuild it the way it was. And so that's kind of what triggered, I believe, the need for the use permit. As always, when we do these special permits or use permits, I always recommend to the owner, whenever you're asking for a little bit, you got to give a little bit. And so one of the things that I did is that there were a lot of eaves that were non-conforming on the side of the porch, on the front of the porch, also on the side bump out, and on the rear. We've eliminated these that are being rebuilt so that it's less of an encroachment than what currently stands. So in a sense, we're improving the encroachment situation with the proposed work. And so that's basically the gist of the request. I know that the next important part is the neighborhood outreach, I'm sure. I was pretty impressed. I normally don't do these parts because I always find it's best that neighbors are reached out by the actual members who are living there and the neighbors that they're going to be living with. And usually that turns out pretty well. This time was a little difficult with them being in Mexico. So I had to kind of take the lead on that. It's something I don't normally like doing just because I've noticed in the past, you approach a neighbor and they don't know you and they know you're not the owner. And nowadays everyone's getting scammed and all that stuff. They're not comfortable with it. And it's funny because the reason I don't do that, I ran into kind of some situations when doing this where I think a couple of the neighbors were not interested at all in talking to me. I know outreach, you're looking for someone to support. I don't know if any of the neighbors, I don't see any of the names on here that look like any of the neighbors, but I know that they received notices of these hearings. I did make contact with two of the neighbors I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Neighbors at 4132 21st Road, which is kind of across the street at an angle. That owner actually lives in McLean. And I don't know if the house is vacant. It didn't look like anyone was there, but I could be wrong. I did actually go to her house in McLean, and she was very hesitant to even talk to me. She didn't open the door. She spoke to me through the glass, and the very last thing she said to me is, "I don't care," and then she walked away. And I don't mean that in a rude or condescending sense. I'm just giving you what happened. So, unless she's kind of sent an email or is on here objecting, in my opinion, it's, if you're not objecting, then it's that you're kind of getting support in a sense. And then we had another neighbor who was directly behind this property across the highway here, Old Dominion, across there. There's some row houses behind there, and there was one lady who owned the property, 2132 Military Road. She just flat out said she wasn't signing anything. And I did leave her the drawings and everything. I was like, well, please take a look at this because you'll be getting a notice about it, and I don't want you to be surprised by it. So I did leave her a drawing and everything. The two difficult neighbors to get a hold of, and it's not for a lack of trying. I've gone probably 8 times to these houses. That would be directly to the right at 4119 21st Road North. Mr. George Gatana. I've seen there was a Subaru car in the driveway sometimes, and sometimes there's not. But every single time I knock on the door, no one answers. And then I know they did receive a certified notice that I sent them, basically with the letter of support, the drawings, and all my contact information to call me and get a hold of me if they had any questions or anything. And I've yet to hear anything from him. In the exact same scenario across the street at 4122 21st Road North. It's a very unique neighborhood. I don't know if any of you have seen this neighborhood or drove through it. All the houses are like really close to the road. And parking, I mean, it's a rough parking area. But that house is a N-unit townhouse. It is across the street. I've sent her a letter too, and I didn't get any response or anything. So again, we've tried to make outreach as best as possible, and so that's why I sent the notices. I will say I did not send notices to the other two that I first mentioned because they really indicated they did not want to be bothered, and I just figured if they're going to object, then they're going to object and either attend this hearing or send an email or something. So that was kind of my experience with the neighborhood outreach. I just don't know what more I could honestly do to get that. Other than that, I mean, it's again pretty much a straightforward thing. They're really trying to rebuild the existing front area. It's going to look pretty much similar, but obviously better because it'll be more modern looking, better siding and stuff like that. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to ramble too much, but any questions you may have?
Mr. Ahrens, I appreciate the effort that you went through Mr. Bowen, the next door neighbor definitely would have gotten also a letter from the county.
Yes.
And the neighbor at 4122, which is sort of is one of the townhouses that is most close to 21st Street, 21st Road.
Stephanie, I think, Lipinski.
Would likely have gotten a letter too.
I believe we also sent a letter to that neighbor. I can do a check on that in the background while the board discusses the matter.
But yeah, and you all, Mr. Aaron's sent certified letters as well. So it sounds like, you know, you did robust outreach. Ms. Arthurs?
I would say robust might be an understatement. That's a lot. Well done.
I know it's important in Arlington. I do a bunch of these special permit. They call them, sorry, I keep calling it special permit. They call it special permit in Fairfax, but I do a bunch there, and they actually don't make you do them there, the outreach. But doing so many of these over the year in Arlington, I've kind of applied that approach over there, and sometimes their board is a little taken back, like, oh, you actually reached out to the neighbors.
We like community here.
Yeah,
we are we are exactly right. Any questions for the applicant? I have a this public notice appeared on my screen.
Yes, Madam Chair, that was me verifying where the letters were sent to.
Okay, got it. I did. So you could verify that 4122 was on there?
Doing that as we speak.
Okay.
Yes, they did receive a letter.
All right, excellent. So I think we've covered the bases. Any further discussion?
No. I agree with all the robust outreach, and I'm prepared to make a motion.
Ms. Freshman?
I move the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the attached proposed resolution approving use permit V-11721-21-UP1 subject to the conditions listed.
I'll second it.
All right, motion made by Ms. Freshman, seconded by Ms. Clark to grant the use permit. Any further discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Arthurs?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion to grant the use permit carries 4-0. Mr. Ahrens, I wish you a speedy recovery.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. And thank you to the BZA and staff for all the work on this. This is very important to the Scamardo family. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Good evening. Get well.
Thank you.
Next
I
item
move
on our
approval of the minutes.
all right, Ms. Freshman.
She's ready.
I move approval of the Board of Zoning Appeals minutes for December 8, 2021.
All right. We have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I will call the roll. Ms. Freshman?
Aye.
Ms. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Arthurs?
I think I need to abstain because I wasn't there, right?
You bet. And chair votes aye. So the motion to approve the minutes carries 3-0-1. No objections, 1 abstention. All right. Mr. Bowen, do you have anything else for us?
We do have a work session 1 week from tonight. And
yes,
for that,
and I'm going. Go ahead. I'm shooting you an email. I'm shooting you an email right now with a draft agenda that I've shared with my colleagues already.
Is it 7 p.m.?
Thank you. I was about to ask that.
yes, we are doing it at 7 p.m. and it will be a virtual meeting. So similar to this one and hopefully productive as well.
Okay.
So I just sent you a draft agenda if you want to look that over and let me know tomorrow if there's things that staff want, other things that staff want to add, or if there's any questions. I think I would like to chat with you about a couple of the items before the hearing. So maybe we can find a time to talk.
Okay, yes, absolutely. We do have a couple of items, or at least a handful of items that we've discussed amongst our zoning team as well as with the county attorney as to kind of items that they might like to see. And we're finalizing those notes now. I think we have about 5 items that we might like to add as well.
Okay, so let's, when you get those items, let's just schedule a time to go over them. And,
Okay,
and
yep.
I just sent you what we have so far. They might be some of the same things.
Okay, sounds good. We're discussing it as well tomorrow morning with the zoning administrator just to finalize our list. So really
Okay.
anytime after tomorrow at about probably noon would be a good time for us to chat probably.
All right, just let's see, tomorrow, if you want to talk tomorrow, tomorrow's Thursday, if you want to just shoot me you want to do it by Zoom, by Teams, or just shoot me a link. I'm free tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, yeah, we'll figure out a time. I think I'm free tomorrow afternoon, but if not, we'll schedule a date before Wednesday.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's just coordinate a date. Ms. Freshman, do you have your hand up?
I was just going to ask if there's going to be a packet coming with whatever we're going to be discussing, or is that typically what happens?
I will defer to Stephen on that matter from the staff perspective. This will be my first working session, and I don't remember what was done in years past. I don't think I attended last year's.
I don't either. That's what. Okay.
Yeah, so especially if there's, if there's materials that you want us to review before we walk into the meeting. Mr. Rissy?
Yes, if I'm able to get together the annual report into something that is legible before the meeting, I'll send it around to you guys so you at least have it to review, hopefully before the meeting, but at least at the meeting next week.
All right.
And I think Ms. Clark has her hand up as well.
I see Ms. Clark's hand.
Yes, I've got a couple of conflicts scheduled for that night, but I'm going to still try to tune in, but one starts at 6:30, one starts at 7, but I'll try to tune in. Okay.
All right. We'll try to work that out.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
We are doing our BZA agenda review for the February meeting this Friday. I believe we have, it seems, 7 confirmed cases on the agenda, and we're going to rush, hopefully, to get a couple more on that we've received some additional information on or that have just come in recently. So we're looking at, for the February hearing, probably somewhere in the range of 7 to 9 cases. So that's just for your knowledge, keeping it pretty similar as the past few months.
Mr. Bowen, did we defer Mr. Arzu to February?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Man, I was hoping you guys handled that one while I was gone. So we got a 1-month break, and that we're gonna hit like 5 or 6 months in a row on his cases then.
Yeah.
Okay. There should be a limit. This has
Well,
happened before, especially with a woman who owns the townhouses up the road from on 21st Road that we just heard that case. Up the street farther, there are some not very good looking townhouse kind of houses.
Oh.
And she came back literally a dozen times. To the point where we really did say, okay, there ought to be some sort of a cutoff, or you have to pay again, because your fee didn't begin to cover just the paper alone.
Right. I remember that, Ms. Freshman. We haven't heard from them, that applicant, for a long time.
No, but when I went to look at the site for tonight's case, I thought, oh God, this is like a bad movie.
Yeah, staff is, I think gives us an out if we do not think that we have the materials necessary to approve something. They have fashioned that motion for us, and maybe we'll have to use it. But if there's nothing else, the agenda having been completed, the meeting is